Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Rant. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Thank you so kind for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. As usual, my peeps. How's everybody doing? Welcome aboard. Who do we have here? Yvette Avery Herod is in the house. How you doing, Yvette? You know, Yvette, I played a piece specifically for you a couple of days ago. I don't think you were in to make it, but know that you are in our hearts, in our minds. We also have AVQ, Michael Rutnin, welcome aboard. Likewise, Bridge MCP, who says, hi, y'all, hi, peeps. We have Lee Grant in the house. Great to see you, Brother Grant. AC Rodríguez, está bien temprano. Muchas gracias por estar aquí. AC Rodríguez, ¿cómo estás, hermano? ¿Cómo estás, hermano? We also have Bridge MCP. Let's see what else we got. Eric Hayes is in the house, and Paul Flemings is in the house. Anyway, let's see what we got here. First one to read is from Bridge MCP, who says Egberto Willis EV, electric car from 1910 Detroit Model D, could travel 340 kilometers at a maximum speed of 32 kilometers per hour. The usual speed for the time. It had a rechargeable lead acid battery. The Anderson Company built 13,000 electric cars between 1907 and 1939. The Detroit Electric was sold primarily to drivers and doctors who wanted reliable, immediate starting without the laborious manual cranking starting that was required with early internal combustion engine cars. A subtle sign of this car's design refinement was the first use of the curved window glass in production car, a feature that was expensive and complex to manufacture, a car that perhaps could have been the precursor to a different future, but was displaced by gasolina, by gasoline. And let's go ahead and thank you, Bridge MCP, for actually showing us the car, which I'll display on the screen right now. You know, I didn't know that. I had no clue that they actually created a lead acid battery. Now, lead acid is a animal that takes a long time to charge, and I mean, submarines and all of that used to use lead acid batteries, as I recall. But yeah, it's a form of energy. I didn't know that, but that it could go 340 miles at 340 kilometers at 32 kilometers per hour, which is about 20 miles an hour, right? 6 times 2, 12, 6, 18. It's about 20 miles, close to 20 miles an hour. That's not bad at all. Lead acid, heavy though, because, lead is very heavy. But I didn't know that. That's great to know. For all those who always want to give kudos to El Señor Elon Musk, I did a rant this morning on Elon Musk because I really don't like our praising of the billionaires. I really don't mind. I hate it. I didn't have enough time to process the rant, but I'll play that rant tomorrow that I did on KPFT, because I tell you, brothers and sisters, the billionaires are actually not, they talk about the billionaires as if they move us forward, that these billionaires are so innovative and that's why they have all that money. Why they have all that money is that they extract out of there. If that money was better circulated, we would even have better inventions, because as opposed to Elon Musk being able to have $241 billion in his name, that $241 billion would be spread out across many other inventors who would probably make a better battery, who would probably make a better electric car, because our composite knowledge is so much better than somebody who directs a whole bunch of other engineers to do things. People. I am on this rant not out of jealousy, envy, or anything, as Eric came on the show earlier this morning to say, oh, you envy the billionaire. No, I don't. I am not really, money? Come on, man. I'm into humanity. I have no capitalist inkling in my body any longer. At all. Nunca, nada, niet. All right, let's see what else here. Hey, Eric says, concerning the debt, haven't we will default on debt as a concern when Dems had power? Why not? Oh, yes, and Nestor. Anybody who talks about default on debt for America evidently has very little knowledge of economics and sovereign currencies and reserve currencies. If you knew anything about those three items, you would never use the word America is going to default on its debt. If America were to default on its debt, it's a concerted, it's a something that we decide to do, not something that we had to do, but something we decide to do. It's almost like shooting yourself in the face. We will never have to do that. As long as we remain the reserve currency, as long as we have sovereign currency, as long as we have the economy that we have, and as long as we control capitalism, the banking system, and everything else. That is why America so fear BRICS, because they're talking about building an alternate financial system where we can exchange monies and trades, etc. Now, when that occurs, that will be a problem at that point. All right. Paul Fleming says, here is DA Fannie Wallace's response brief to the 11th Circuit destroying Meadows' argument that this merit removal to the federal court. Is that something that I can put on the screen? Okay, guys, look at the link that he puts there. It's too long to put on the screen, but go ahead and look at the link that he provided us. Thank you, my brother. All right, Lee Grant says, I see news from progressively run Philadelphia, soft on crime, DA, and vilification of the police. More than 50 arrested following night of looting throughout Philly. Mayor says a bad thing. I saw, all of us are seeing the videos of a whole bunch of people going into the stores and robbing. Again, they need to get that under control. It has nothing to do with liberal cities or whatever. The crime rate is much higher in places run by Republicans like Louisiana, Florida, etc. So let's not try to put that on some liberal DA or anything like that. Paul Fleming says, please spare us the Republican Party's fake outrage about the national debt. The Bush and Trump tax cuts together have cost an estimated $10 trillion. Absolutely. Since they were enacted, they don't care about debt because look, deep inside, they understand sovereign currency. Deep inside, they understand reserve. They know all of that. They are just trying to mess with Democrats by continuing the uneducation of their own, and we have to make sure and keep the pressure on to prevent that from happening, Paul. And as you put that in there, you are doing some informing. Bruce Pollard said, what is your car battery today? It's lithium, made of lithium oxide, I believe. Eric Hayes, envy of billionaires, not a chance. Michael says, battery technology has improved by leaps and bounds since those early batteries. Longer running time, lighter weight, faster charging time, flux power. Lead acid batteries generally have a runtime between 5 to 6 hours. When they need to be recharged, that process takes approximately 8 hours. Although the charging process completes in 8 hours, another 8 hours of cooling down is typically required. Wow. Thank you for that information, Senor Rudnin. What else have we got here? The 4 common types of batteries used in cars are lithium-ion batteries, lead acid batteries, that is like the old technology one, SLI batteries, and deep cycle batteries. The 4 common types of batteries used in cars are lithium-ion batteries. Oh, why did you write that twice, brother? Why did you put that out there twice? All right. Anyhow, E2247 says, hello, my relatives. Today's visit will be the greatest ever, as usual. Bruce says, quit with the rant of whatever reason. Quit with the rant for whatever reasons. Huh? Don't understand what that means. You got to explain what that means. Rants are very, very important. That is what makes radio radio, because we can put something out there that people want to add on to, right? All right, let's see what else we got. Michael Rudnin says, RepairSmith actually lists 8 different types of car batteries, but doesn't offer a summary of sharing. Okay, what else have we got here? Sovereign debt. Yeah, keep letting people have free stuff and will not be paying for it. I don't know who gets free stuff. I want to know, when you guys always talk about people getting free stuff, you're talking crap. Most people make so little. The things that you call free stuff are actually the giveaways that we give to corporations, thus requiring us to subsidize those corporations by paying the people that work for them additional monies so they can live. Free stuff? Dream on. Learn. Educate oneself. But HMCP says what Fannie response said one day after former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows filed an emergency motion to pause the effect of ruling against his effort to remove his Georgia racketeering case to the federal court. Fulton County District Attorney Willis responded by saying defendant's motion does not show he can carry the heavy burden required to receive such a stay. In bold, Willis wrote that Meadows has not made a strong showing that is likely to succeed on its merits, adding later with emphasis, the defendant has not actually made any showing. His arguments are overbroad and do not actually address the careful reasoning employed by the court in its remand order. He thus has represented no basis to conclude that he is likely to succeed in appeal. I love it. She knows her material and she knows what she's talking about. So it's hard for crooks and the less inclined, the less knowledgeable on the law to really go up against her. You know, you don't really get very reputable attorneys working for that side at all. Reason why they don't pay. The one in your car, I bet, is lead acid. My car has lead acid. Your car has lead acid. That is what's used to crank the cars up, and they usually the alternator keeps them spruced up as you drive your car. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see, Melanie Keelan getting in late. Welcome, Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. Mike Cisak is here. I'm surprised that Fannie didn't charge a bunch of Democrats with the same, since a bunch of them are election deniers and tried the same thing. They never broke the law. Donald Trump broke the law by attempting to change votes. None of those Democrats who stood up in Congress and said, no, Trump didn't really win, did absolutely anything to reverse anybody's votes. That is what Donald Trump attempted. Do not compare oranges and apples, please. It makes one look less than, well, you know what. All right, let's continue. Para ver. Eric Hayes, that's too long. And let's see, the Texas upstream oil and natural gas industry has added 12,100 jobs. Wow. I don't know what you want out of that for that. All right. Michael Rudden, conservatives talk about free stuff, not realizing that most people like it when government works for and does well for the people. It's why conservatives rail against free stuff, because Republicans always vote against the people's best interest. Not only that, if you take a look at who gets more free stuff, it's people who vote Republican, people who vote for the right. Anybody wants to challenge me on that? Challenge accepted. Most of our money goes to red states. Again, red states take a lot more than blue states. And the economic activity in blue states are 3 times that of red states. For you, Egberto, my dear beautiful lady, let's see what you got. Those who do not critically think, do not notice their chains. Oh, girl, I love that. The only thing I'm sorry that you know what, Bridge, that person that you have with their minds enslaved, you have it as a black person, right? And let me tell you why I don't like this particular. Oh, let me put it up on the screen. What am I doing here? All right, let's put that up on the screen. And did I get the previous one that you got? Did I ever put it on the screen? I hope I did. Anyway, let me tell you why I don't like that being a black person. Because that immediately implies that the peoples whose brains are enslaved right now are black folks. And what happens is, since Emancipation Proclamation, right? The reality is, the reason black folks vote the way they vote, the reason many of the things that they do, is they're still trying to get ahead. The problems right now is not the black mind in chains. And I say this with respect. It's the white, it's a particular sect of the white population who has enslaved minds. And what I mean by that specifically is, what is really occurring in society today is that is what's holding back not only black folk, but the white people, specifically the Appalachian Trails, specifically the red states. Their minds are so enchained, enslaved, that they don't understand that their natural alliance is not with these Republicans, but it's with the masses in America, the people of color, women. All of these people are the ones that create your natural alliance to move you forward. So, Bridge, that's the only thing I hate about that particular graphic, because it's a graphic we need, but it's a graphic that is not fully, doesn't fully explain where we're at. Let's see. Bridge says, Egberto, I didn't think of it as a black person. I know, I thought of it as a working man, dirty and sweaty. I got you. But that is because you are more enlightened than most, Bridge. That's the reason why that's not what you saw. I know that. Eric K says indoctrination. Look at Lee. Look at Lee going for mayor in Houston, and she has done nothing for the district. Do you really want? You better go ahead and start looking to see what Lee has done for her district before you make a comment like that. Sheila Jackson Lee has done more from her district than most have done for their own district, given the parameters that she has to work under. Before you just make a blanket statement, do a little bit of research. Let's see. Lee Grant says, we hear a lot about critical thinking. What's the difference between critical thinking and rational thought? Rational thought? I am not sure. I think the rational thought is I think they're pretty much the same. I think critical thinking, though, requires more if-then rational. Well, I can't just say it off the top of my head, so I won't say it. All right, AC Rodriguez says they always vote against their interests because someone less fortunate than them might get to where they are in life. But the thing about it is that a lot of the people they fear have already surpassed them. All right, Michael Rowan says, agreed, looking at the meme, didn't notice a racial component, focus on the thought to fact check everything. Might personally include a class divide component in this discussion. I tell you what, Michael Rudnin and Bridge MCP, what both of your statements just showed me is you guys are so enlightened. I can see why you guys are the heroes of politics done right, because you're so darn enlightened. That is where we need to be. Let's see what else we got here. Mike Cisak said, AC Rodriguez, do you understand how welfare policies work against the best interests of poor people? Actually, not well-designed welfare programs at all, because I can see how welfare work against the rich people. I can see how welfare has worked against the poor people based on the welfare that corporations are getting. So if that is what you're alluding to, CSAC, I can see that. But anyway, I was on a radio show in Wisconsin yesterday. Remember I told you guys I had to take off to go to the radio show. And what I want to do, I want to play that radio show for you, the segment that I did on the radio show. So I'm going to start there, and then we'll go on to my second rant after that. So here is what I did on that radio show.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
Taco Tuesday it was. Yeah. But on this show, we laid out some plans. We've got some fine guests later. Egberto Willies, he's going to join us. And he does a fine job. He's got his own political show, Politics Done Right, and a new book. It's worth it. Talking to the other side. And I wonder if we introduce Egberto to CJ, if you'd still hold that opinion. It's worth it until you meet CJ.
I hope
be the subtitle of the book.
Or is it? Question mark.
A second edition printing. Egberto Willies. He's joined us live via StreamYard. He is Egberto Willies. His show is Politics Done Right. And he's got a new book. It's called It's Worth It. Egberto, welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show.
It's my honor to be there, to be here. And I tell you what, love your state, Wisconsin. And I'm not just saying that to be nice. I actually visited Madison, and, it was great. I had a great time out there for the Democracy Convention and for a couple of coffee party programs. So great state.
And your show plays out on KPFT. That's Texas based. Are you based in Texas? Where's home for you?
Home for me is Houston, Texas. I live in the suburbs called Kingwood, Texas, and I've been here for quite a while now. And, we're just trying to make the best out of it out here, but we're doing it.
Same here, Humberto.
Difficult location to live. As a progressive radio host, podcaster, author, that's going to be a tough. I mean, that's not Austin. And I know Harris County. I know Houston's relatively blue part of a very red state. But that's a damn red state, sir.
It is very red because of how they control things. I mean, if you take a look at the state proper and you ask the people what they really want, it's really not a red state. But it turns out that, as you guys know, with all the trickery that goes on, especially, that quite well in Wisconsin, especially what's going on with that judge, et cetera, that it's a difficult situation when they're really trying to stack the decks against you.
Yeah.
Egberto, I was counting your podcast. You're in the thousands, man. How long have you been doing this progressive radio, progressive talk thing?
Oh, man, a long time, over a decade now. It's sort of keeping that consistency going, getting people to get used to coming at the same place at the same time. So we try to keep that consistency up. But over 10 years, I started out doing it with a little station in Canada, internet station in Canada, and it migrated ever since to both Coffee Party, to the Pacifica Network, and these other places.
Now, Egberto Willies, our fun guest, when you're doing the show, and we try to do it open line style, and we try to be open-minded. We try to take all callers, all comers, but occasionally you get trolls. And I know you've written a new book, and I want to talk about it. It's called It's Worth It. And you think that we should be talking to our political opponents, but I don't know if you just heard from our pal CJ, man. This guy calls every day. There are guys that would wreck that notion, Egberto.
Yes.
There are people out there that would make you regret that notion. So how do you stay optimistic? How do you continue to have conversations across the aisle?
I tell you what, the listeners that I have, they get irate with me because they seem to believe that I give those trolls more attention than I give to them. And guess what? They're right. Because here's the thing that all of us do here, all of us in the progressive media. We know that we're going to get those trolls, right? But the other thing that we know is after we do a live show, even if we're getting one troll and a few people, there are thousands of people out there that are listening not only to us, but to the trolls. So the idea is I try to keep my composure with the trolls, knowing that there are a lot of other people that have the trolling idea out there, but that are a bit more objective and they are listening. So even though people get irate with you for dealing with the trolls and counteracting the trolls, the sensible right-wingers out there, a lot of times, because they get a new exposure, they'll say like, I never thought about this way. And how do I know that works? I have the letters to prove it. People would listen to a podcast that I've done, a couple of years ago, and they'll say, oh, guess what? Thank you. I never thought about that. I've changed this or changed that. Look, it's one person at a time. And I know it's hard as hell, but it's one at a time.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We got a fine guest. He is Egberto Willies. He is the host of Politics Done Right, and he is the author of a book, It's Worth It. It's worth it talking to, let's say our political foes, people that don't see things exactly as we do. But, we've cut some people off, Egberto.
Yes.
We've got some former guests like U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, who was eccentric and, was anti-climate change and had many disagreeable political points of view. But we had the guy on 25, 26 times. And then January 6th rolled around. And there are a number of Wisconsin Republicans, especially, that find themselves fully embroiled in either a fake electoral scandal, or they wrote a letter to the vice president, or they were, and some to this day, still trying to overturn the election of 2020 in our state, sir. So it's very hard for us to find, let's just say, the common ground with those that are still trying to say it was rigged, it was stolen, and let's redo 2020. What's your thoughts on the J6 stuff?
I am glad that you said that, because Ron Johnson wouldn't appear on my show. The right-wing politicians wouldn't appear on my show, because I know that they know the truth. And I know that they are the leaders of the misinformation machine. So I leave them out. My ire is always left for them. When I'm attacking people, I never attack the MAGA conformist or the person who's been influenced by these guys, because I understand the psychology. The psychology is that these guys, they grab on to something. These guys have allowed them to grab on to something. So I give them no airtime. You won't see a Ron Johnson on my show, but you would see people who believe in Ron Johnson on my show. And I ask them questions about why you do X, Y, Z. And many a times I have them answering their own questions. And a lot of times when there are two things that usually happens there, right? They answer the questions and find out that they're coming around to our position, or they realize what's occurring. And immediately, I don't have to throw them off. They want to get the hell out of Dodge.
What about Joe Biden?
Yeah. Egberto Willie, host of Politics Done Right. So how do you, because, listen, I voted for a Democratic mayor of Milwaukee, for governor in Wisconsin, Barrett. Then a recall came around. I voted for Scott Walker, the Republican. A lot of my progressive friends, they get me on that. I was the MC for the 2016 Libertarian Party of Wisconsin's convention. So I've literally voted for Republicans and Libertarians and Independents and write-ins. I'm literally that guy. Okay. Right. Then I look around and I think, well, and I'm down for the conversation, and people can change their minds, and new information comes to light, or you have an epiphany about something. So I'm totally down with the conversation. But some folks, you're not going to convince. Some right. Folks, if you're a paid Coca-Cola spokesman, you're never going to drink the Pepsi. You know what I mean? Right. There's some folks you never ever. They're not willing partners. They're not honest brokers. They don't want to be convinced. They want to shut you down. They want to throw a wrench in your gears. How do you differentiate between those folks and just regular everyday folks who just go to work every day, got a family, wife and kids, or older parents, or whatever the case, start trying to get through the day and barely have any time for this kind of political fever that we're into? How do you make that separation?
All right, there are the trolls, and the trolls I use the trolls. In other words, I use the trolls to convince other people. However, that section that you talk about, those people that are there that have no intention of changing, and not only do they have no intention of changing, they're attempting to shut you down. Those are the folks that I simply let go. And the reason why is that those folks generally also know the truth. I put them in the same category as I put a Ron Johnson in. These people know the truth. They are there as the salesperson of the lie. They are there as a salesperson. So I differentiate the trolls from those guys that you just mentioned there, because they're the ones trying to do damage. The trolls are really confused, and sometimes you have that little kid that's out there that just wants to kind of be the other voice and see that if they can pull your strings based on other things that they hear. I want to use those. I don't want to throw those away, because they make my show actually proactive to other people. And that's why in the book, what I did is the first sections of the book, I make sure to give the progressive message, right? In other words, why we stand for the things that we stand for. And I do it from a mathematical standpoint, an ethical standpoint, social standpoint, etc. And then given the person who wants to do what I say to do, which is it's worth it, talk to your right-wing relative friends and neighbors, because you then know the material. You can then find whatever modal you need to use as an approach to talk to folks.
I want to get your sense. Obviously, the former President Donald Trump interviewed on NBC recently, and I've given him some grief about that. Do you think it's wise and appropriate for national news media to continually bring people like Donald Trump and give them more airtime?
No. Remember, that's what I said. Ron Johnson wouldn't appear on my show. Neither would Donald Trump ever. If I were so honored to have a Donald Trump on, I would never, ever have him on my show. Because again, that makes me complicit in what he knows he's doing wrong. So no, guys like that, I wouldn't give them airtime. But the regular average American citizen, if you have an ill person, I consider many of MAGA folks ill. In other words, they're really sick, right? Yeah. And as a human person, you won't harm somebody that's sick. You try to help them, and that's what makes me keep my cool.
Egberto, all the ivermectin they need, all of them. Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We got a fine guest. He is Egberto Willies. He is the host of Politics Done Right and also the author of It's Worth It. Let me ask you, I see there is a little made for Fox News event coming up. Gavin Newsom, who's taken this sort of pro-Joe Biden stance, and he's kind of there in the public conscience,
right?
Just in case, right? Just in case. And then there's this Ron DeSantis character who has been a failed presidential campaigner. I don't know if you recall Scott Walker's presidential campaign, but the parallels are obvious. This guy is Scott Walker 2.0. We've seen it since the get.
Yes.
But Fox News has created effectively a made-for-television debate between the governor of the state of California and the governor of the state of Florida.
Yes.
Egberto, should Newsom be playing along? Sean Hannity is going to be the moderator, for Christ's sake.
He shouldn't. I know Newsom is a smart guy, but it's rigged, and I wouldn't do it. No. And the reason I wouldn't do it is not out of fear, but how they're going to splice and cut whatever I say for the clips, the outtakes. It's not about the interview where he's going to clean their clots. It's about how they create the outtakes, and the outtakes are going to be hundreds and hundreds of clips that they can go ahead and change the outtakes and make it say something it didn't.
Well, let me ask you, Egberto, if Fox News comes calling, do you accept the invitation? I've personally been banned from that little two-bit operation, but would you go on the Foxy News? What's your personal attitude?
Not to do a debate. I would go to Fox News one-on-one. If the host calls up and say, I want to ask you XYZ, I would say that, and I will make sure that my answers are in such a manner that you can't easily cut it to say what it doesn't say.
Well, I can tell you, have you been, because they really don't ever make it a fair fight. They sort of box you in. They usually put you on a panel, and they usually don't even tell you what you're talking about till like the bright lights are in your face. 3, 2, 1. We're talking about crash and grab in San Francisco, and why it's Joe Biden's fault. Defend him.
Yes.
I personally burned out on that little exercise. Now, occasionally C-SPAN. I'm waiting for the big call from MSNBC.
No,
maybe you know someone, Egberto.
Neither of us will get a call from MSNBC because we are straight talkers. I mean, you have somebody who actually voted libertarian here, and they will create some issues there. So no, they would never call. I don't think any one of us here.
Well, Egberto, that means you better sell your own book. How can people buy the book? It's Worth It.
You can go get links to the book at politicsdoneright.com/books. politicsdoneright.com/books. And you can find all my books there. It's worth it. It's worth getting that book. I can guarantee you that.
And if people want to hear your show, Egberto, how can they listen?
You can go to politicsdoneright.tv. politicsdoneright.tv.
Egberto Willies, thank you so much, man. I don't know if it's worth it talking to every single righty out there, but it was certainly worth it talking to you today. Really nice making your acquaintance, sir.
It has been my honor. Thank you so kindly. All right, folks. I hope that you like that. But anyhow, if you see that on the screen earlier on, if you recall, El Señor Lee Grant asked what he asked about, what was it again? About rational thought and critical thinking. And if you take a look at what I have up there on the screen, it has what E2247 has put out there. And let me go ahead and bring that up so I can read it as well, because E2247 did some great work there in presenting that to us, and I really want to go ahead and do it right and repeat it. Where is it? It's coming. This computer is doing a million things at the same time. It's processing, it's doing videos, it's doing all of that. Okay, now I have it big enough to read. It says, Lee Grant, here are the differences. He said, Critical thinking is simply stated as the abilities, the skills a human person has to analyze, evaluate, create. What is so terrifying about that? We've been doing it since we lived in caves. When we analyze, we are working to differentiate, discriminate, distinguish, focus, select, to organize, find, cohere, integrate, outline, parse, structure, and attribute, deconstruct. When we evaluate, we are working to check, coordinate, detect, monitor, test, and to critique, to judge. I couldn't have said that any better because I wouldn't have been able to do it as well as presented by the one and only E2247. So anyhow, folks, I have another piece to play for you. But before I play for you, let me see if there's anything that I woke is. It's amazing how people parrot things. Breach, you gave a look. Let's do this. Breach gave a great explanation. Breach says Michael Rudnin, Lee Grant, woke is. Actually, I think it came from Michael Rudnin. It says woke doesn't mean to hate Americans or white people. Woke means to be aware of social injustice. It's such a pain in the ass when conservatives intentionally misunderstand the common meanings of words they misuse for some sort of strawman burning. But also, Bridge had a mention of that as well that I want to read because I think I read hers first. Let's see if I can find what she said. Bear with me. Bridge also said about wokeism. I can't find it right now. But anyway, again, it's a whole lot of stuff I got to go through and I can't find that. But here's what should drive many crazy. Woke. Okay, here we go. Being woke was never a left thing, is what Bridge says. It is almost 100 years old. It was, I believe, started in the early 1900s for Black people to be aware. Woke is being aware of the social issues we humans face, not about the government, about the people. If the government wants to adjust as they're doing so be it. It is not a pie when someone gets right. You do not lose yours. I mean, what is disconcerting is that when you teach somebody something, you enlighten them with the new information to tell them, you're right, people have been lying to you about the real meaning of the word woke. So you're here at Politics Done Right. We are explaining to you what woke means. And then you have Eric that comes back and says, woke is a joke. No, woke is not a joke. Again, as we stated, we want you to stay aware. We want you to be awoken. We want you to be awake. That's what woke is all about. Being in control of your own mind, right? Thank you both, Bridge and Rudnin, for enlightening with that definition, which is the correct and accurate definition. Very important. But if you notice, thank you, Yvette, for saying about the great interview. Likewise to Bruce. Thank you, brother. Now, here's the thing that I want to say. Remember that interview that I just did with the Devil's Advocates? They asked me about forgetting about people like let's say Eric or whatever, who chooses not to understand, they are willfully ignorant, right? They willfully choose to misrepresent even after they've been informed what something really is, after they allowed themselves to be ill-informed by otherwise evil people. Now, we've informed them. They can look up what we've informed them about if they so choose to do. But they don't, because again, the ignorance is not that they are inherently ignorant, is that they are willfully ignorant. A very big distinction. Now, why do we continue to work with them? Because again, as the guy, I forgot his name now, alluded to on the show, he was like, my God, Egberto, you have thousands of these podcasts that get viewed. You remember when he said that earlier in the show? Guys like Eric are great assistants in getting the progressive message, not to progressives, but to MAGA and right wing. Because as they see people, as they can actually see people being willfully ignorant, they don't want to be that person. And I'm not being pejorative here, folks. I'm just making a statement of fact, right? We have teachers in this chat that's giving you verifiable information that you can corroborate. And if you choose to get that information and still remain ignorant, right? It is like I'm telling you, the water is hot. You don't need to touch it. The water is hot. But if you want to verify it, get a thermometer and put it in there and you'll see. And you go ahead and put your hands in it anyway, because you just don't want to listen to me about using a thermometer to determine it's hot. That's willful ignorance. All right, let's go ahead. And this is my rant for the day, and this is a very, very serious issue. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side. Mis hermanos y mis hermanas. You know, I heard Joe Biden say one time, show me your budget and I'll show you your values. Again, show me your budget and I'll show you your values. I'm going to expand on that. Show me what you are willing to spend on. Show me what you are willing to tax for. And I'll tell you how much you care about families. I'll tell you how much you care about family values and how much you care about humanity. Well, we are in that position right now. And, you know, it's something that we alluded to a few months ago, a few weeks ago. It turns out that at the end of this month, the subsidies that were given, it was written under the COVID plan. COVID was used, the COVID pandemic was ultimately used to do a lot of experiments that we couldn't otherwise get Congress to pass because, again, they never are proactive. Specifically, the right side of the aisle is never proactive enough to say, let's do what's best for our citizens. Let's do what's best for our families. So they are never prepared to do it. But COVID came along, and yes, we spent trillions, and we could see in spending those trillions programs that worked and programs that didn't. What we found out is investing in children could ameliorate poverty, could get rid of poverty. It could bring poverty all the way down. Now that we didn't reinstitute many of the policies that prevented child poverty over the last year, when they expired, child poverty went all the way back up. Now, we have something else that's expiring. The subsidies at the end of this month that go towards programs that help kids, that childcare while the parents are at work, that sort of a thing. 70,000 care programs are going to shut down, affecting over 3 million kids. But that's not all. Because in affecting the kids, you will affect the parents. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Is that it's at the end of the month of the pandemic era funding for childcare. What was that, and what will happen when it expires?
Look, this was part of the American Rescue Plan, Katie, and we covered it at the time, a way to help the pretty floundering childcare system in the U.S. at least have some foundation for support financially. Those benefits are now set to expire. And look, it comes at a time when moms are finally rebounding to their pre-pandemic workforce rates. That's a good thing. But you and I both know when moms don't have childcare, generally that means that they have to scale back or pull out of the workforce in order to sacrifice sacrifice that paid labor for the unpaid labor of being at home. This is an age-old issue, and it's a reminder that even though this isn't directly at play in this larger spending battle, when you're constantly fighting crises here on Capitol Hill, it makes actual proactive legislating really hard or basically impossible. And so on this one, the fact that they are looking elsewhere means that they can't push forward on continuing to expand this. And this could have really dire consequences for a childcare industry that is so essential and also so starved for resources already.
Listen, if you can't put your kids in childcare, you can't do anything else. It's not like you can go to work with your toddler or your newborn. It doesn't work that way in this country. So it is extremely important.
So what does that mean? It means now, remember how our unemployment went way down. You know why? People could go to work. Why could people go to work? Because they had childcare. Childcare that otherwise, given the meager salaries that they receive, wouldn't be enough. But because of government subsidies, good government, what it meant is that people that would otherwise have to stay home could now go to work. And in going to work, we got new taxpayers. And not only do we get new taxpayers because they have an income, that money flows right back into the economy. So it's more than just getting taxpayer. It's increasing economic activity that is warranted by that. Remember, the powers that be thought we would be in a recession by now because they believe in supply side economics. And if we did all of this, somehow we would be back in a recession. But to the chagrin of all these supposedly preeminent economists, right-wing economists, supply side economists, the recession never came. The recession never came because we gave money to the people who needed it, would spend it, and would work. That's why the recession never came. It wasn't magical. It was because we got away from supply side economics for the duration of the COVID pandemic and went into Keynesian economics with a touch of what again? MMT. That is what did it. We knew it would work. It's not like many of our left-wing economists didn't explain the reason why this stuff works. Now, people are going to say, yes, but look at what happened to inflation. Well, the inflation was caused again by a capitalist corporate evil that these guys saw that people have money in their pockets, so they will throw the prices to meet the money. But we could have regulated that as well. So now at the end of this month, what happens? At the end of this month, in a few days, we're September 2023. A lot of families will be looking for places to put their kids that they can afford, and most of these people won't be able to afford it. Most of these people, the gains that they thought they've made with the new jobs that they've had will no longer be there. And we will be regressing right back into the evil form of tax cuts, hurt the middle class, hurt the poor. That folks cannot see that the mainstream media hasn't made the narrative in the form that I'm saying right now, that I'm putting out right there. We prove COVID gave us the ability to spend and prove that Keynesian economics along with MMT works. We proved it. Poverty went down, no recession, economic activity, and the only thing that we needed to then mitigate was the greed, the evil, the simply mitigated gall of those who run our corporations. The answers are there in the numbers. The answers are there in the numbers if we choose to look at it. Family values my you know what. Come on, folks. Come on, politicians. Speak the truth. Come on, media. Speak the truth. Let's do what we know is right to the families of America. Yes. And unfortunately, that's the bingo debate game we play. And that is the bingo debate game that harms Very good one, Vidij MCP. It's amazing because if you keep, and I don't, let me tell you what's the biggest thing about this, right? Is that there are so many different stupid talking points there that if you sit down and have to dispel each one of them, look at how many stupid things are on that bingo thing that's like the chart every talk show host on the right uses. That's the chart, right? And you spend so much time looking at a chart with ridiculously silly topics like that, and then it is impossible if you go with it to talk about issues that really matter. So what we choose here to do at Politics Done Right is we negate, disregard, don't talk about those issues except in a tacit throw them to the curb. In other words, you bring it up, show that it's silly, show that it's unintellectual, and you let it go and you move on to what America really needs. That is what you do. Hey, Bridge, I don't know how you find this stuff, you know? I don't know how you find this stuff that you must be on a hell of a... Oh, Lincoln Project gave you this one. Okay. I love Lincoln Project. Yeah, I love that. All right. Washington is an empty financial pit. True. Let's see what else we got here. Any other thing of interest that's worth repeating here? Let's see. What else? Para ver. I don't think I have anything else here on this particular topic. All right, look, I'm going to shut us down early today, about 3 minutes early, because I have a whole lot of stuff to process for tomorrow, and I have a whole lot of vlogs I got to get done tonight. I've been really behind on blogs, and I really need to get my act together because we got to keep this message in the progressive space going. We got to keep the message in the progressive space going. So I'm going to shut her down right now. So what I want to ask before I shut her down, of course, is for you guys to please support the program. The first form, you can find all the different ways to support our program by going to politicsdoneright.com/support. politicsdoneright.com/support. That is a way that gives you all the different options in which you can support our program. I can tell you, we need your support. Alternatively, you can go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Please subscribe to our newsletter. It's a coffee. The subscription to our newsletter, first of all, is free. But you can become a supporter by getting the paid version, which allows you to read all my books free of charge that I'm placing up there. Right now, I have 2 of them so far. I'll be placing the rest shortly. So please go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter and become a paid subscriber of the program. Let's see. Bridge wants me to put another one on the screen. I'm trying to get out of here, but Bridge says put it on the screen. And what it means is I'll put it on the screen. All right. So please become a paid subscriber, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here right now. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.